Hello friends, it's my task today to brief you on osteonecrosis, especially in the post-COVID, post-steroid. It has taken a big toll on our orthopedic OPD practices. Not only orthopedics, but even general practitioners, general physicians are facing a lot of such patients who are coming back to us treated after COVID who have received steroids coming to us with hip pain. That hip pain can be anteriorly on the hip or low back pain which is getting radiated, or even anterior thigh or knee pain. So let's have a quick look what COVID has taught us in the first and the second wave so that we are ready to face our third wave too. Sequelae of COVID-19 has predominantly affected respiratory system, especially the lungs. It has also affected musculoskeletal system in terms of um, people having loss of balance, people feeling fatigue. It has affected cardiovascular system in terms of ebola that we all know and we are aware about it, and we have to start these patients on anticoagulation. But it has also led to huge musculoskeletal system issues, especially if it affects osteonecrosis and leads to osteonecrosis of the hip. Osteonecrosis of the hip is more common than osteonecrosis elsewhere because we walk on our hip joints, and because it's a weight bearing joint, it manifests early in terms of clinical symptoms. What is osteonecrosis? It is also called as avascular necrosis, which is a more apt term because it is basically the vascularity of the hip joint which gets affected. The microembolization which occurs at arterial level. So to define avascular necrosis or osteonecrosis or bone death, it's a multifactorial heterogeneous group of disorders that leads to a final common pathology of mechanical failure of course hip joint or a femoral head, and we as clinicians must have extremely high index of suspicion, a great clinical acumen to diagnose it early, and surgical finesse to strive against its progression, because it is going to progress from stage 0 to stage 4, which is the ultimate stage of arthritis. We have had opportunity to write and publish various at various levels textbooks and journals about this. So let's look at where we are today in terms of early diagnosis and knowing about this. So as I suggested, patients can present with anterior hip pain, anteromedial thigh pain, pain in buttocks, low back pain, or even pain in the knee. But what you can typically do is, once you try to flex the hip, it will have a positive sectoral deviation test. What I mean by that is, normally on flexion, hip should point towards the opposite shoulder. Here in this case, because of antero-superolateral affection of the hip joint, it will tend to go towards the ipsilateral same side shoulder. It is also very sensitive portion of the hip joint. That's another reason why even in early stages without x-ray showing any changes, this can be a positive test. How will you diagnose it early? Of course, x-ray is the mainstay, but to diagnose it early, if you have a high suspicion post-COVID, post-steroid, it is a good idea to get MRI done of these patients. The list of investigations, of course, will include X-ray, isotope bone scan, functional bone marrow investigation, MRI, CT scan, or finally histopathology. Let's look at how it has been classified. Since early days of 1967-1970s, Ficket and Arlet, French radiologists, suggested a classification which divided avascular necrosis into early and late phases. But then it was immediately followed by Americans Marcus Enneking and Massam, which was the Florida classification system. But what is followed all over the world today is the ARCO classification of osteonecrosis, wherein it is classified from stage 0 to stage 4, wherein stage 0 is X-ray normal, MRI is positive. Stage 1, X-ray still remains normal, but MRI will show some changes. Crescent sign or the early collapse will start appearing in stage 2 and stage 3, which is early collapse. And stage 4, of course, huge amount of collapse. Secondary arthritic changes start appearing, and that's the stage when we probably would consider a hip joint replacement. Once we do an MRI will show some changes in T1 as well as T2 weighted images, which is called as a classical double line sign. Management of the patient will depend, it's a multifactorial decision making management. It will depend on age of the patient, whether the patient has a unilateral, one side, or a bilateral affection, what is the etiology. Like for example, in Nagpur and central India, sickle cell has been extremely common. So we have been seeing these patients following sickle cell crisis, and we are used to it. Of course, pre-COVID times, sickle cell, alcohol and steroid, we have been knowing about it. The fourth is of course Gaucher's disease, Caisson's disease and idiopathic etiology. Stage of osteonecrosis at the time of presentation will decide mostly its surgical management or medical management. As I suggested, there are a lot of patients with varying degrees of etiology. The first approach that we want to consider is of course biological. More biological the approach, we would save the patient's own hip joint, which is a better idea, because even artificial total hip replacement today has its own limitations of 15 to 25 years of survivorship. So we want to retain patient's own femoral head, patient's own hip joint. So what are the various treatment options that are possible? Co-decompression, wherein if the patient is in early stages, patient has increased pressure within the femoral head, we decompress the femoral head so as to rejuvenate its blood supply. That's called as co-decompression. We supplement that with either a fibula graft or synthetic grafts. Still a more biological operation is using muscle pedicles with a bone stock or vascularized bone grafting using a bone stock. That's my preference for early stage osteonecrosis, to revive the circulation of femoral head. This is a very, very biological approach, and almost in stage 3 we can reverse the whole process of osteonecrosis in some of the patients. We are also trying stem cell therapy, auto bone marrow transplantation, electrical stimulation, dislocation of the hip and curettage of the lesion. In some patients where there is a focal involvement of the femoral head, some surgeons across the world are also trying osteotomy, where we rotate the femoral head and bring in the portion which is not involved in the picture. Total hip replacement should not be done in early stages, because we must know and remember that avascular necrosis or osteonecrosis can be because of ongoing systemic disease. There can be defect in mineral metabolism. Some patients would need steroids for a prolonged duration. These are young patients, so they have very high level of activity and they have increased weight. So total hip replacement should be reserved for a terminal stage only, when the patient is unable to bear the weight on walking, patient is unable to walk few steps, and X-ray wise it is a completely destroyed hip joint. So to infer early detection of avascular necrosis or osteonecrosis is of paramount importance. MRI seems to be the best investigation today to diagnose them early and catch them. Core decompression with bone grafting is a preferred option in stage 1 and stage 2. Only core decompression without any grafting is not of use. Tensor fascia lata muscle pedicle bone grafting and vascularized iliac crest bone grafting has shown promising results even in stage 3. All osteotomies are successful, but they hinder with future total hip replacement, so should not be considered as a choice of treatment. Thus, for all pre-collapse hips, vascularized iliac crest is the standard today, or core decompression fibular grafting as the second choice. If there is no crescent sign, core decompression bone grafting. Once crescent sign or early collapse, vascular pedicle or muscle pedicle bone grafting. If sectoral collapse, maybe osteotomy. Once arthritic changes appear, total hip replacement. I hope I have cleared some doubts concerning osteonecrosis or avascular necrosis, because we are going to face this in months to come, especially in those patients of post-COVID who have received steroid as mainstay of the treatment, but it was required that time. In that point in time, for patients this was a life-saving drug, but it has already started showing its complications. Thank you very much.